Hello, this is Jill at engVid, and today we have a special guest with us, Rebecca, from a medical charity based in the UK called Anthony Nolan. So, Rebecca, welcome. Thank you for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, and so thank you very much for being here and answering some questions about Anthony Nolan, the charity. And would you like to tell us something about yourself and the work that you do for Anthony Nolan?
Sure. So I am Director of Register Development at Anthony Nolan, which means that I lead a team who recruit and look after a stem cell register of people who have volunteered to donate their stem cells. And I think we'll talk a bit later about what that actually means. So I live in London, where the Anthony Nolan headquarters is. And I've had a career in a few different charities in volunteer management and program management, and have been at Anthony Nolan for about 6 years now in lots of different roles.
Okay, that's great. So you mentioned stem cells, so that's a bit sort of technical. Maybe
Sure.
some of our viewers won't know what they are, but I'm sure we'll come to that and clarify as we go along. So, okay, and so can you tell us a little bit about the history of the charity and what the main work of the charity is?
Sure. So Anthony Nolan, as you said, it is a medical charity. We're a blood cancer charity. And what we do is we save the lives of people who have blood cancer and who need a stem cell transplant. So that means that we make life-saving connections between people with blood cancer who need a transplant and incredible strangers who sign up and volunteer to donate their stem cells to somebody who needs those stem cells to save their life. And we save 3 lives every day, which is pretty incredible. And what it means is if somebody has blood cancer, sometimes they'll have lots of different treatment and none of that treatment will work, and they'll need the stem cell transplant to save their life. So the chemotherapy and radiotherapy, which you may have heard of, hasn't worked, and they'll need a stem cell transplant to sort of replace and reboot their immune system, and hopefully cure them of their blood cancer or their blood disorder. So we do this by recruiting volunteers who are willing to donate their stem cells to somebody who needs them and hopefully to save their life. So we were founded in 1974 by a lady called Shirley Nolan, who was looking for a stem cell donor for her son who had a blood disorder, and he needed a stem cell donor to save his life, but there were no registers in the world. So she set up the Anthony Nolan Register in the UK. And we now have over 800,000 people on the register in the UK, and there's now a global network of lots of different registers as well. So it's a really incredible legacy that she left in memory of her son, who sadly died a few years later.
Oh, okay, wow. So that's amazing. That and of course, because your work is now has an international spread, all our viewers, whatever country they're in, might be able to possibly become potential donors and put their details on the register. So that's really interesting. So blood cancer, leukemia, that's the main condition, medical condition that you work in to help people to recover from that. So are there any other types of illness that you also deal with?
So blood cancer actually affects a surprisingly large number of people. In the UK, around 104 people every day are diagnosed with blood cancer, and that could be leukemia, as you mentioned, or it could be lymphoma or a myeloma, and they're different types of blood cancer. But we also provide stem cell transplants for other blood disorders and other life-limiting health conditions. So, for example, sickle cell anemia or thalassemia, and sometimes other immune disorders as well. So it's not just blood cancer, but it is often can be a cure for blood cancer as well.
Mm. Wow, that's great. And you've reminded me of a friend of mine a few years ago, a young guy called Tom, and he sort of out of the blue, he developed blood cancer, and he was in hospital for many months, and they eventually found a stem cell donor for him on a database. I think it came from Germany, and he recovered. So that was a good, good
That's great.
result for him. But of course, he was sharing a hospital ward with other people who didn't make it. So it just brings home to you. Some people uh, get a donation and they recover, but I guess lots of other people, they never manage to find a matching donor, and so that's how important it is for people to register, um, in case
Absolutely, yeah.
they're ever needed for that.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say his donor came from Germany, as your tissue type, which is what we match patients and donors on. It's like a kind of identifier of your immune system. That's largely determined by your ethnic background. And in the UK, we share a lot of heritage with Germany. So quite often, we will provide donors for patients in Germany, or German donors will donate for a UK patient as well.
Oh, that's interesting connection. I think in the language, in terms of language, of course, we have a lot of Germanic words in the English language as well. So there's a connection there for people who are learning English, where the words come from.
Mm.
So that's very interesting. Um, so um, so how might Anthony Nolan as a charity be relevant perhaps to our viewers in different countries? Are there any particular nationalities or male or female, different age groups? What kind of person might be in demand as a potential donor, would you say?
And so, as I mentioned there, we work internationally. So quite often we provide donors and to Germany, and Germany provide donors to us. But we're also part of a global community called the World Marrow Donor Association, and that brings all of the registers across the world together. And there's over 38 million people on the global register, which is incredible. All people who have signed up to potentially save someone's life. But not every country has a register. And some of the biggest registers are in countries like the UK, the US, and Germany, where the populations are majority white, white heritage. And because, as I said, your tissue type, which is what we match the patients and donors on, is largely determined by your ethnicity, it means that patients who are from minority ethnic backgrounds have a much lower chance of finding a life-saving donor. So we need more people from minority ethnic backgrounds and mixed ethnic backgrounds to join the register wherever you are in the world, so that we can diversify that pool of donors and hopefully be able to find that matching donor, that life-saving donor for every patient who needs one, regardless of their ethnic background. And we also need younger people. So younger donors are better for patients. So some registers, like Anthony Nolan, will limit the age of people who can sign up. So at Anthony Nolan, you can sign up between 16 and 30, and there are different age restrictions around the world. But broadly, we need younger people to join the register.
Okay, so that's great. So if our viewers sort of fit that kind of profile, or if they know someone who fits that profile, hopefully they will consider taking
Absolutely.
part and registering. That sounds great. Thank you. And so we will give the link, a web link for that international donor website towards the end of this video, and also a link to Anthony Nolan's own website. So that's great. So for someone to become a registered donor, do they have to kind of give a like a saliva sample or something like that with some sort of DNA details in it?
Yes, so wherever you are in the world, you can visit the World Marrow Donor Association website, the link that you'll see a bit later, and you can use that tool to find the register in your country. Then you'll need to fill in a form with some medical details and some personal details. And then usually, it depends on the country, but in the UK, we'll send you a swab, a cheek swab test in the post. So it's really simple. You just swab your cheek and put it back in the envelope and send it back to our labs. And that's where we'll test that sample and record your tissue type, as I mentioned earlier, on our database. And then every time a patient needs a matching donor, we'll search that database for someone who matches them. Some countries do it slightly differently. So some will take a blood sample from people who are already blood donors. We used to take saliva samples, but most registries now have moved to this swab sample. So it's really simple.
Okay, that's great. So painless, really. It's quite
Absolutely,
painless to give us
really easy.
well, a blood, if you have to give a blood sample, that's not quite so painless, but nothing too scary.
No,
Okay.
it's very simple to join and doesn't take very long at all.
That's great, lovely. Thank you. So it's mostly, you mentioned stem cells, which come from the bone marrow, so that comes from inside the bones. So if someone's going to eventually be asked to donate that, what kind of process would they have to go through?
So this is our biggest challenge as an organisation. So there are lots of misconceptions and kind of fake news about what it is to donate stem cells. And 90% of the time, donating stem cells is actually a very simple process that's done through the bloodstream. So you'll have a few injections to help your body to produce the extra stem cells and to make the stem cells come from your bone marrow into your blood. And then we will connect you to a machine that's a bit like a dialysis machine. So you have a needle in each arm and we filter the stem cells from your blood. You keep your blood. We take a little bag of stem cells and those stem cells are sent to the patient wherever they are in the world and hopefully will save their life. That happens 90% of the time. Occasionally, we do need to take the stem cells directly from the bone marrow, and that's done under general anaesthetic. It takes about half an hour, and you'll wake up with a bit of an achy back, but you will kind of remake your stem cells in a week or so. And our donors say that it's a really simple and a very small price to pay to potentially save somebody's life, and really not the painful process that people think it is.
No, okay. Well, that's great. And as you say, the thought that you're helping to save somebody's life is, makes it worthwhile. So
Yeah.
that's great.
Amazing.
And there's another kind of donation? Is it to do with the umbilical cord? Is another thing that people can choose to donate?
Yes, so I can't speak across the world, but in the UK, if you're giving birth at a hospital where we're able to offer this, so where we have a nurse who's able to collect the umbilical cord cells, you can donate your umbilical cord after giving birth. And it's usually thrown away. So it's a really simple thing to do. You just sign up and offer to donate. And if we're able to collect it, then we can. And that's an even more simple process. But of course, it's quite an expensive process. So we can only do it in certain hospitals. And we focus on hospitals and areas of high ethnic diversity so that we can make sure, again, that we are building that register of really diverse donors for all of our patients.
Okay. So that's something that has to be really thought about in advance of giving birth,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Rather than say, oh, by the way, I've decided to give my umbilical cord. I guess people should say, or do people ever, maybe in the UK, when people are having checkups, prenatal checkups before they give birth, is it ever mentioned? Or is there a form to fill in where people can say, yes, I hadn't thought of that, but yes, I'd be willing to do that when the time comes?
Yeah, absolutely. Either chat to your midwife or you can visit the Anthony Nolan website, and we've got a list there of the hospitals, and you can express your interest if you are giving birth at one of those hospitals, and let us know that you're interested, and then we can get in touch and talk to you in a bit more detail.
Okay, that's great. Lovely. Okay, good to know. Right. So, and then of course, here we are towards the end of 2020, which has been a bit of a strange year for a lot of people all over the world with the pandemic. So, how has the pandemic affected the work of Anthony Nolan this year?
So in lots of ways, I think, like, I don't think any company or organization has been unaffected. But for Anthony Nolan, our recruitment of donors has been affected. So we usually recruit both online, and also we hold events at universities and schools. But obviously we haven't been able to do that. We haven't been able to get people together to do that. So we have our recruitment has suffered. We've recruited fewer people to the register this year. So I mentioned earlier about that international network we have for transporting stem cells all around the world for patients. And at the beginning of the pandemic, that became really difficult because of the restrictions on travel and also the reduction in flights. So we very quickly set up what we called a handover hub at Heathrow Airport. And there we were able to bring stem cells in from around the world, and then a UK courier would pick them up and take them to the hospital wherever the patient was. And that reduced the risk of people travelling from abroad into UK hospitals where patients were vulnerable, and also made it much easier for us to get those cells to the patients quickly. And our patients, our blood cancer patients and patients who have had transplants, are really vulnerable after their transplant and whilst they're having treatment. So we have been able to make sure that we support them through the pandemic. We set up a support line, an advice line to help them to keep safe during the pandemic. So lots of our patients were shielding and obviously not able to leave their house. So we put in lots of support for them as well over the last year. And of course, as a charity as well, our income has been affected. We haven't been able to run fundraising events, and that's meant that we've unfortunately been able to raise less funds this year, which means that we have been in a bit more of a difficult position as a charity this year as well.
Okay. Yes. I think a lot of charities have, been affected that way, as well as, of course, businesses losing income too. So hopefully 2020 will be a year of sort of recovering and coming back up to speed, that sort of
Yeah.
thing. Yes. Okay. And then some of our viewers who may already be in the UK, or they may be planning to come to the UK, they may not have considered the idea of possibly working for a charity organisation. Maybe they've been thinking in terms of perhaps working for a business or whatever. So, can you give us an idea of what is it like working for a charity? How is it different? How is it similar to working for a business or a commercial organisation?
Sure. So I've always worked in charities, so I can only talk really about charities. But like any business or organisation, we also have professional services. So we have lawyers and accountants, nurses, and doctors who work for us too. So there's lots of opportunity for people who already have a profession to transfer that to the charity sector. And then we also have some other roles which are a bit more unique to the charity sector. So fundraising, helping charities to raise money through lots of different ways, through events and marathons, and hosting big balls and fundraising events, and volunteer management. So looking after people who give their time to organisations and making sure that they are happy and enjoy their roles. And for me, the difference is that I'm really motivated by working every day to have an impact. And Anthony Nolan, that's on patients' lives, and really being able to say every day that, however small, I'm working towards hopefully saving lives and having a really positive impact, rather than driving profit for a bigger organisation. So for me, it's about the motivation, and that's what keeps me in the charity sector and keeps me passionate about my job.
That's great. Good. So viewers with all sorts of different skills, would maybe be able to find a place in a charity. you know, with different type of business skills and so on,
Absolutely.
and also with the added, you know, sense of satisfaction really of thinking what good they're doing for people, saving lives. So it's all a plus, I'm sure. So that's great, lovely. Okay, and so that's been a fascinating um, coverage of your charity and what you do. And I think we'll put up some links for people to see. I think up on the screen and also in the video information that will appear with the video on YouTube. So we'll put the link to the Anthony Nolan website, and we'll also put the link to the International Bone Marrow Donation website for people to have a look. So thank you very much, Rebecca, for your time. That's been really fascinating. Thank you for taking time to talk to us about your work and the work of Anthony Nolan. Um, so okay, and so that's been interesting for everybody today, and an insight into real life work in the UK. And thanks for watching. And you might also be interested, if you haven't already seen my video on volunteering in a charity shop, which has been a video that's been available for a while now, where it's a useful place to help to improve your English if you're in the UK or you're coming to the UK. Volunteer for a few hours a week in a charity shop, and you will be surrounded by people talking English, everyday English, and it will help you to improve your vocabulary, increase your vocabulary, your grammar, etc. So do have a look at that one. So thanks very much, everyone, for watching. Thanks again, Rebecca, for being with us today,
Thank you.
and hope to see you all again soon. So bye for now.